So what our boss wants us to do for task number 2, and you'll notice that I've already entered it and commented it out. They want us to create a couple schemas, one sales and one employees. And then they want us to take the sales related tables and move them into the sales schema. Okay, and to do that, we're going to use the alter schema command. Sales is the schema that we want to put the tables in, and we're going to be transferring tables out of the DBO schema into sales. And we're going to be doing something similar for employees. And where you're going to notice this is if you expand out the test database and expand out your tables, right now, they are all in the DBO schema. And we are going to be reassigning the tables to sales and employees. So we're going to go ahead and execute. And let me pull up the messages here. And so it says they were all successful. So I'm going to refresh this database. And then if I expand out the tables, you will notice that now we have our new schemas. And creating the different schemas is going to save us quite a bit of time when we want to give employees access to tables. Because if we want certain employees to access the sales tables and other employees to access the employees tables, we can assign permission based on schema instead of tables. And that is going to save us quite a bit of time. So at this point, we are going to move our closing comment down. And now our boss wants us to associate the sales schema with Peter and the employees schema with Lucy or Ling. It just depends on how you save their names. Okay, so if you use Peter and Ling, awesome. If you had to change their names to something a little different, then you're going to have to adjust the command because you're assigning it to the username. Okay, so we're going to be using the create user command. We're going to give it the username with default schema, and then we're going to tell it what schema we're going to use. And it should be looking at our test database, so we shouldn't have to say use test. But the commands I had envisioned is user Ling and user Peter, but as you know, I had to give them a little different naming scheme. So I called her Lucy and I called Peter Sully. And you guys probably are fine with Ling and Peter. It's just that I have run this set of commands before. So these users already exist in my system. So you're probably absolutely fine using Ling and Peter. And mine has to be a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and execute. And they were successful. So now we have Lucy or Ling associated with employees and Peter or Sully associated with sales. So I'm going to move my closing comment down. In our next scenario, our boss would like Peter to have select, insert, update, and delete privileges on the sales schema. So this is going to allow Peter to modify the data, but he cannot modify the structure of database objects, which means he can't insert columns into tables, he can't remove columns, that type of thing. So to give permission to select, insert, update, and delete, we are going to use the grant command. And this is a command that you do need to be familiar with for your certification test. Okay, so we're going to say grant, select, insert, update, delete on sales.customers to, and then you're going to want to use the username here. So if the username you created was Peter, awesome, use Peter. If you called Peter Sully, use Sully. So this is by username. Okay, so now Peter, or Sully, has select, insert, update, and delete privileges on the customers table. So we've decided that, man, this is going to take way too long to give permissions at the table level. So we've got the schemas that we created, and it's much faster to just give the permission on the schema level. So we're going to grant, select, insert, update, and delete on the sales schema. We're going to give that to Peter. And that way we only have to do one command instead of a gajillion commands. Not quite a gajillion, probably 5. So here we've got grant, select, insert, update, delete on the sales schema to whatever username you gave Peter. I called him Sully. If you called him Peter, awesome, keep Peter. And we're going to go ahead and execute. So now we have given Peter, also known as Sully, we have given him select, insert, update, and delete privileges on all of the tables in the sales schema. So I'm going to go ahead and move that closing comment down and save my changes. So apparently Peter got a little delete happy, and he deleted all of the rows in one of the tables, and the test database had to be restored from a backup. So our boss wants us to remove the update and delete permissions from Peter, or Peter. So we have to now revoke privileges. Okay, before we granted privileges to give him insert, update, delete, and select, and now we got to take a couple of them away. Giving Peter a little slap on the hands here. So we're going to revoke, update, and delete on the sales schema to, and if you called him Peter, awesome, keep Peter. I called him Sully. I'm rather fond of Peter, gave him a nickname. So we're going to go ahead and execute this. So now Peter will only get to select and insert. Peter will not be able to update or delete. For Lucy, also known as Ling, our boss would like us to give Lucy database level permission to create, modify, or remove objects in the test database. So this is a little higher level of permissions because Lucy will be able to create tables, create views, create procedures, create functions, and create schemas. So we're going to grant those privileges to Lucy. And let me move my closing comment down. So whatever username you gave Lucy, if it was Ling, awesome, keep Ling. If you had to change it, whatever username you gave Lucy is what you have to use here. And we're going to execute. Okay, and this is pretty high level privilege. If they can create database objects, they're a pretty trusted user. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move that closing comment down, and we'll save our changes. So our new scenario, we had Sierra leave our little test group, and now we have a new employee coming on board. The new employee is Chris Evans, and we need to give them access to our test database. And Chris has server level privileges. Privileges are equivalent to a systems administrator. Okay, so these are very high level privileges. So the first thing we're going to do is create a login for Chris. Okay, so we're creating the login. We've got a little password here. Default database is test. And if that did not complete successfully for you, you can change the name to something else. And then we are going to create a new role for Chris. The role is going to be basically the level of a security administrator. So we're going to be using the alter server role command. So let me move our closing comment down. And so we have predefined roles. One of them is security administrator, and we're going to be adding a member to that, and that member is Chris. So whatever username you gave Chris, that is what you need to use here. And I'm going to go ahead and execute. So now Chris has security administrator privileges. So I'm going to go ahead and move that closing comment down. And our final scenario is our boss would like to know which users are accessing the test database and what their roles are. So we can use some system commands for this. We're going to first look at system server principles. And we'll run this. This should give us a little table, which I'm going to move up here. And the new users should display at the bottom. Okay, so we've got our 3 new ones that we've added. And the reason I had issues adding Lucy and Peter is because I had them still in here from the last time I ran this exercise. Okay, so you guys should only have 3 of them, and they should be down at the bottom. And then we're going to keep this select, and we're going to run another one. This is going to show us what the role for the different principal IDs are. So let's run that one. And the reason I had you keep the first one is because this second column is giving you the principal ID. Okay, so you've got the principal ID over here, and then you've got their different roles. So we've got 295, 296, and 297. 297 we had as a security, or I believe it was a security administrator. Okay, that was Chris. So that is a very high level, so you can actually see it right there. And then what we're going to do next is retrieve information at the database level. So we're going to add another little command in here. Okay, so this is database principles. Let's run this. So down here is the database principals. And we have principal ID here as well. And here's the different names. So we've got Lucy and Sully listed here. And we're not going to see Chris because Chris was not assigned to a schema. And remember, we made him a security administrator, but we did not assign him to a schema. So that's why we're only seeing Lucy and Sully. You guys are probably seeing Ling and Peter, kind of the same thing. Here you can see the schemas that they were assigned to. Where we see Chris is in the server role members because he has that high level security. And we saw all of them in the server principals table, and they were at the bottom of that one. So at this point, you are done with your Chapter 17 exercises. So we are going to move our closing comment down, save our changes, and then you're going to upload the file to the Dropbox.